What is going on, champs? It is your boy Sultan. Welcome faces back to another Apex Legends video. In today's video, I will show you 10 tips to help you use Mirage like a pro in Apex Legends. Thank you for joining me, and let's get into the video. Mirage is hands down the most underrated character in the game, partially due to the fact that he has a very technical playstyle to him and most people shy away from a challenge. So in today's video, I will show you 10 tips on how to master Mirage and use him to bamboozle players. As per usual, if you are new to the channel, here you'll find some of the best tips and tricks to make you an even better player. So consider subscribing. Before we begin, quick comment shout out goes to Kevney. If you guys want a shout out for yourself, just be the first one to comment on my video. Now let's talk about how to master Mirage. So I will be showing you guys 10 tips to give you an advantage against other players when you are using Mirage. The first tip I have for today is to use decoys to clear out areas. Mirage's decoy has an 11-second cooldown, which is fairly fast compared to other abilities in the game. With your decoy being available so often, it's good to take advantage of it as much as possible. One of the ways is to send your decoy to a general area to figure out if people are there. Decoys get shot at majority of the time, so sending a decoy could promote gunfire and let you know if someone is in the general vicinity. This works great to cover your flank if you are fighting a team in front of you and you're holding your ground. Instead of having a teammate to run and watch your flank, try sending a decoy as bait to determine if a team is getting close to flanking you. The second tip I have is to use your decoy when you are gliding. After dropping from the dropship, you have the ability to use 2 decoys that can glide faster than normal players. Send both decoys to the area you want to land to create the illusion of people landing at the area first. People typically tend to avoid landing at an area if they see lots of people landing at that specific spot. So send 2 decoys to the exact area where you want to land, then follow them through. You will create the illusion of having a full team landing at your drop choice, which will decrease the chances of having an enemy land next to you so you can loot more safely. The third tip I have for today is to bait and peek with your decoy. Decoys are great to use when you have cover and can peek from the left or right of what you're using as cover. You can then decide to send a decoy one way and peek the other. This will have the enemy shooting at your decoy all exposed, and you can land the initial shots without being touched. This works great with any gun you're using, but extremely effective if you have a sniper. You can land a solid headshot without flinching since your enemy is distracted on shooting your decoy. This method takes good timing to perfect and also makes sure your decoy is believable. Don't have the decoy run straight at the enemy. Instead, try having him run at an angle to create the illusion that the decoy is trying to take another angle on the opponent. Alright guys, that leads me into the fourth tip I have for today. Make your decoy as believable as possible. Aimlessly sending your decoy might cause people to fall for it, but if you really want to persuade your enemies to fall for it, have your decoys move for the appropriate situation. You can send decoys 3 different ways. If you use a decoy when running, your decoy will also run in the direction you tell him. If you use a decoy when you're crouching, your decoy will crouch walk in the direction you tell him. And finally, you can use a decoy when you're knee sliding to have the decoy knee slide in the direction you tell him. To make your decoys more believable, use the 3 styles wisely. I like to use the knee sliding and crouching decoy in close quarter gunfights, typically in buildings or close rooms. If an enemy sees a random decoy running aimlessly in a close range gunfight, they won't fall for it as often. But if you send a crouch walking decoy or a knee sliding decoy, the enemy will fall for it thinking that you are trying to make a play on them. And finally, you can use the running decoy for medium to long range gunfights. This is because most people run to areas to get positioning at those gunfight ranges. Now let's get into the 5th tip I have for you guys. Use your ultimate as a barricade. If you resort to using your ultimate in a gunfight because you know you can't win it and you need to get away to heal, use your decoys as a shield to block you from gunfire and from being in the enemy's sights. Yes, we know Mirage isn't fully invisible during his ultimate, but it's very hard to find him if you run away in the direction so your decoys can block the angle that the opponents have on you. This will help you escape because it will take a longer time for the enemies to find out where you went to. Alright, moving on to the 6th tip I have for today. Use decoys to help teammates. Most of the time, people tend to use the decoys to help only themselves, but if you want to become a better Mirage player, start using your decoys for your teammates. Whenever there are moments when your teammate is in a gunfight but you don't have the angle to help out, send a decoy running past your teammate somewhat towards the enemy. The slightest distraction can help assist in winning a gunfight. This is the least you can do for your teammates in situations like these, and it also takes very little effort or skill, but can have a big impact on the game. Now let's get into the 7th tip I have for you guys. Hide fast when knocked. When playing as Mirage, if you ever get knocked down, you go slightly invisible for a couple seconds. Use this small amount of time to find an area to hide from being thirsted. In a hectic situation, there's gunfire all around. Players tend not to thirst Mirage when he goes down, since it's more of a hassle to find him because he's slightly invisible. Use this chance to hide as soon as possible to increase your chances chances of being revived. This is not a guaranteed way of surviving when knocked, but will work more times than you think. Alright guys, moving on to the 8th tip I have to master Mirage. Use your ultimate to close the distance on a gunfight. So this one is going to be used for the more skilled players playing Apex Legends. I feel that this play is too risky for an average player, but I wanted to throw this tip out there since it will help a few talented players. Whenever you want to force a close range gunfight, use your ultimate to go slightly invisible and then run with your fists out to move faster and to get closer positioning. This is for the more aggressive players out there and the ones that are more confident in winning gunfights. Alright guys, moving on to the 9th tip I have is to use your decoy as cover. When you are in a position where you have to run across an open field, send your decoy first, then run next to him to use the decoy as cover. Yes, this will be slightly more noticeable for enemies to see you, but if they already know where you are and you have to change the location, run next to your decoy to use it as a meat shield. This will help you take less damage when you want to change your position while running in wide open fields. And finally, last but not least, the 10th tip I have for today is to use your decoy to clear out close range rooms. The scariest thought of opening a door then getting hit by a peacekeeper always tends to happen to me. So what I've learned to do is instead use a decoy to run through the room before advancing. This way your decoy will eat the peacekeeper shot instead of you or your teammates. This will also give away the hiding spots of whoever is camping in the building, since they will be bamboozled and thinking that a regular player walked into the building. Getting hit by an unexpected peacekeeper is always an awful feeling, so be sure to use your decoys to clear out rooms for you. If you guys found anything helpful in today's video, don't forget to leave a like rating. It is always appreciated. And if you are new to the channel, here you'll find some of the best tips and tricks to make you an even better player. So consider subscribing. If you guys have any questions about the things I mentioned in the video, let me know down in the comments and I will be sure to assist you as best as I can. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and as always, this has been your boy Sultan. I'm signing off. Peace.